So I got assigned to be the commander of the second mission when we started up again. So I commanded the 24th launch. We lost Challenger on the 25th launch, and then I commanded the 27th launch, and it was an all-military crew because it was a top-secret Department of Defense mission. And if I tell you what it was, we can't ever leave this auditorium. So all I can tell you is that we launched a major new intelligence satellite. We separated away from it, and there was a problem with it, and we had to do an unplanned re-rendezvous with it, and in conjunction with mission control, fix it, and then separate it away, and it went on to a completely successful career. That's as much as I'm allowed to tell about it to this day. Just coincidentally, our flight took us way up north over Russia. And so we were able to get this picture of the world's largest lake. This is Lake Baikal, way up in northern Russia, and it's the world's largest lake because from this end to this end is 400 miles long, but more importantly, it's a mile deep because it's at the junction of two of the Earth's tectonic plates. 20% of all the fresh water on Earth is in that one lake. 1/5 of all Earth's fresh water is in Lake Baikal. So that's why we were there. We were there to get a picture of Lake Baikal. Well, we were only up 4.5 days because after the Challenger accident, we reviewed everything all over again, and we came to the realization that, we thought we were real smart and we thought we knew a whole lot of things. There were a lot of things we did not know. And so we went into minimum duration flight for the first 4 missions after we started up again. So I was only up 4.5 days. So the philosophy was get it up there, get the mission accomplished, get it back down on the ground, and now let's go over it with a fine-tooth comb and check everything real carefully. Well, this is getting boring. Just a couple years later, I got to command the second launch of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, and Endeavour was the shuttle that we built to replace Challenger. So I flew that, and this was a science mission. We had the Space Lab laboratory back in the cargo bay, so that was our major payload. And we had the first professional Japanese astronaut, Dr. Mamoru Mori, on our crew. Japan paid for this whole mission. And we had more than 40 material sciences and life sciences experiments back in the Space Lab. And what we're doing in this picture, I split my crew up into the red crew and the blue crew. So while the red crew was working, the blue crew was sleeping. And then every 12 hours we'd have a shift change, and that's what we're doing in this picture. You see the high-tech way that we hold ourselves in one position? These little foot loops. That's all you need, just one foot loop. Now you have both hands free to write with. And being weightless is so wonderful, because I'd finish a page in my notebook, I just park my pen right here, flip the page, grab the pen, and continue writing. Well, you get in the habit of doing that. And one of our flights came back from space, and an astronaut named Dale Gardner, there was a big crowd waiting for us when we would arrive back in Houston. Dale Gardner was signing an autograph book, and the nice lady said, "Hey, would you sign the next page too?" So he parked his pen, and he flipped the page, and where'd it go? So you get in the habit of doing that. That actually happened. So, but being weightless is really wonderful. And in fact, when you come back and land after even 4.5 days in space, you got to fly free as a bird the whole time you were up there. You didn't climb stairs. And we'd come back, and you'd stand up against gravity, and you'd say, "Oh, golly, this gravity stuff stinks." So anyway, you really enjoyed being weightless. Well, we came back. That was 8 days for that mission, and I landed at Cape Canaveral. So at this time, I've been a mission commander 3 times. And actually, I was kind of ahead of the rest of the pilots in my class. I guess the management liked me because I got to fly early and often. And one of the really great things about being in space is the view. You never get tired, and we would keep cameras by the overhead windows, which are the biggest windows on the shuttle. We would keep cameras right there because you'd be floating past someplace like this, the delta of the Nile River, and the camera had to be right there or else you were going to miss it because we're going 5 miles per second is how fast we're going on orbit. So we captured this on my fourth mission, and from space, the only things that look gray or silver colored are cities. So right here at the tip of the delta, this is the capital of Egypt, Cairo. This is the Suez Canal, going from the Gulf of Suez into the Mediterranean Sea. And the bright spots in the sand right here, those are the pyramids. So if you know right where to look, you can actually pick out the pyramids from space. What do you suppose this looks like at night? It looks pretty spectacular at night. And you look at this picture and you go, holy smokes, there are sure a lot of people that are living along the Nile River. There's a lot of people in the delta of the Nile River as well. And that's because we humans very much need water. So where there's lots of water, there's lots of us. And where there's not lots of water, there's not many of us. I have no clue who this is out here. But you guys sure are out there on your own. The green glow on the horizon, that's our atmosphere. And at night it takes on some of the ambient lighting, and it's what we astronauts refer to as the air glow, because it's 80 miles thick. That's how thick our atmosphere is. And of course, that's what makes it possible for us to live here on the Earth. So this is kind of pretty, but this isn't the prettiest thing we see from space. I was talking to a bunch of 5th grade classes one time, and I said, okay, the next slide I'm going to show you is the prettiest thing we see from space, and one of the kids shouted out, Las Vegas. Well, it's kind of pretty, but it's not this pretty. The aurora. And you probably all know there are 2 auroras. There's the northern lights, which we're most familiar with because we're in the northern hemisphere, the aurora borealis. But there's also the southern lights. And these are each a ring of light around the North Pole and a ring of light around the South Pole. And it happens at the top of Earth's atmosphere. And we are actually above the top of Earth's atmosphere, so we look down at the aurora. And it's just fascinating to watch. It's hard to get a decent picture of, because again, you're going 5 miles a second, and the aurora won't hold still, and we can't hold still. So it's hard to get a decent photo of it. But it is just fascinating to watch it. Well, for my final mission, I trained over here. Where's this? Moscow, yes. This is Red Square in Moscow. And the reason I trained in Russia was that I got selected to command the first docking ever done by a space shuttle, and it would be with the Russian Space Station Mir. My crew and I had to attempt to learn to speak Russian. Underline the word attempt, because I are an engineer, and engineers ain't taught good in English, let alone in Russian. And so trying to learn Russian was a real challenge for me. I'm good with math and physics and science, but languages, not quite so much. And so the Russian alphabet is all messed up. It's got 33 characters. They're Greek, Arabic, and Cyrillic. And characters in Russian alphabet aren't what they are in the American alphabet. So, for example, a capital H, as in Houston, that's not an H at all, that's an N. As in, never will I be able to learn Russian. But here's what I know best in Russian. Я говорю по-русски очень плохо и понимаю. And so anytime I needed to talk to somebody in Russian, I would start off by saying that, which is, I speak Russian very badly and understand nothing. Because I didn't want them to be expecting too much out of me. But when I launched, I had 2 cosmonauts on board, Anatoly Solovyev and Nikolai Budarin, who could not speak English. And at the time, Russia was so poor, they could not afford English teachers and English textbooks, so my crew and I had to make the effort to learn Russian. So here we are on the way to the Russian space station, and we needed to be able to talk to them in case I needed to tell them something like, Izvinice, pожалуйста, у нас есть маленький пожар на борту прямо сейчас. Excuse me, please, we have a small fire on board right now. So we needed to be able to talk to them. I'm going to dock to the upper right module. This is the Crystal module. And I'm going to fly the approach to there. And so when we got within about 4 miles, the mission commander, that's me, takes over manual control, and he flies the rest of the rendezvous and the docking by hand. So it's hand flown through the docking. I said he takes over. Did we have any female mission commanders? Yes, we did. In fact, Eileen Collins was here yesterday, our first female shuttle commander.